Morning. Hello, good morning. We're gonna start with a complicated subject to kick off your Friday morning. Morning to the people online. I hope it's morning for you as well. Just for context, breaking the ice. This is more of an advanced course. There was a first part called Breaking the Ice, the danger of being your community friends. That was more on the basic, like how to build your community from the ground up, how to have community members that kind of acts like self-regulating moderator and, you know, protects you in case of things going down when, for example, you're sleeping. But this is going to be a bit more advanced and a bit more linked to current ideological and our current political settings. So, yeah. A very heavy subject for a 10 a.m. talk, but we're going for it. Please bask in the beauty of those very cute mascots, because this might be the cutest thing you'll see during the whole talk. Because yeah, I'm just jump scaring you with Elon Musk. So basically, for context, but you're all game devs, so you're pretty much all aware if you've ever had a game that had a woman in the cast, a person of color, if you ever talked about global warming, well, probably you've seen one comment just go, oh, go woke, go broke. This is something going on, you know, throughout the whole industry, and it's something that has been going on for a while. It's not something that is surprising to us. It's just been gradually getting a bit worse every time we open our social media. And this is just for context. Of course, a big figure of it, pushing this narrative now is Elon Musk, which I have blocked everywhere. I do not like to see him on my feed anywhere. And it has real impact on video games worker, as you can see here with the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. If you don't have the context, Sweet Baby Inc. basically being linked to GamerGate 2 that took place last year. And I also added, if you want to have a laugh, okay? If you want to have a laugh, there's the curated list of woke games. So it's like, let's say an Excel document. There's also a Steam curated list of all games pretty much ever made, ranked on how woke they are. You get the woke mark pretty much for anything. Can be you have a woman in the cast. It can be that you think global warming is real. How dare you? No. I've seen snow this year. Okay, so this does not exist. Well, most games are red being your woke in the list. I have found one game that I've played that wasn't woke, and it was Spy Fox, the game I got when I was 5 in a cereal box. So, congratulations to the devs. You guys have done an amazing job. So we have this movement coming mostly from gamers, consumers, towards the dev, with now a political figure endorsing it. And, well, you know, it feels like the industry is kind of imploding right now. You talk to your friends, you're like, hey, it's been quite a long time since you've been laid off. And you're like, yeah, but I can't find a job. There's like 2 job offers per month that goes out that actually fit my role. And that's the harsh reality right now. We're seeing the downfall of all those 2019, 2020 acquisition rush in the game industry where everyone was acquiring small studio left and right. Sometimes you were like, why is that big group acquiring 4 publishers? It doesn't really make sense. Surely that makes a lot of redundancies in their stuff. But at the time you're like, hey, they must have a plan. And now we're pretty much in the phase where, oh, okay, they didn't have a plan. And it's imploding. So what it creates is that basically at least I feel like we as devs, there's a growing wariness, even a sense of betrayal for some people of what happened during the last few years. You grow bitter, makes sense, you don't have a job, things are hard, you cannot change job. It's even hard to get a promotion because people are like, you want more money? Well, no, get out, because I know you will not find easily another job. So everyone's a bit on age, and thank God there are still exec CEOs, people that are actually against this movement. And mostly, as you can see, so we have Helldiver 2 CEO, we have Baldur's Gate 3 CEO. Those CEO are mostly creative. They are not CEOs that are just in a CEO position. Most of them are people who have some sort of idealism of a video game not just being a product, video game being an art being made by a team, a whole team, just not, not just a guy being like, this is a game by my family name, my last name is just me. So there's still, some good people out there. I'm trying to be positive. And since we're in France, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the STJV and everything they're doing for the right of workers. And for our probably American online looking at the talk being like, oh my God, those French people, they can't just stop. They can't stop with the protests and the riots, right? They have to keep going. That's a communist country. Very interesting because from a French point of view, when you look at our history, you're like, we're pretty right-wing. But for an American, it would be like, man, that's communism, okay? What the hell? And that's kind of is, you might be like, why am I talking about that? That kind of is the whole point of this talk regarding the global movement, is that they all have, when you look at the case, very regional particularities that you have to take into account when you're thinking of corporate communication, crisis communication, and community development. As someone working in community development, you have to be well aware of the distinction between, let's say, an harassment campaign coming from the US, an harassment campaign coming from a European country, or an Asian country. They all have their distinction, and you cannot treat them exactly the same way. So I thought, hey, well, let's look at things that happen around the world, hey? So we're gonna start with Korea. If you do not know Maple Story, it's a game by Nexon, Kakao Games. If you don't know Kakao, it's a very well-known firm, mostly seen as a competitor to Line in Korea, so it's very original. Initially, they're most well-known for their instant messaging services, but hey, they have so much things now. They have merch, they have games, and they have this franchise called Maple Story. So what happened in this case? For a marketing asset, presenting this lovely pink-haired character that you can see behind this news host. At some point, the character, from my Western point of view, at some point the character she turns and she goes, yeah! And from my Western point of view, I was like, oh, that's so cute! That's so cute, she's doing half of a heart. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, girl, yeah. That's my Western point of view. That's what I saw. I saw half of a heart. I was like, oh, that is so cute, that is so kawaii. Yes, I've watched anime, I can vibe with this. That is not what a Korean person see. And that's extremely important. What happened is that what was seen by Korean was a sign that is linked to an ideological and political movement called Megalia. That is a feminist movement, that is very active, but only in Korea. And what's interesting is that when you learn about Megalia as a French person, at least, you're like, yeah, they're fine. They're not that extreme for a French person. For a Korean person, they are extreme. They are extreme. They are like the sign, the emblematic extremist of feminism. So this sign for Megalia, that is like their emblem, yeah, it kind of goes like, that's your penis, okay? That's your pee-pee I just got right here. It's very small. Why would they do that? It's the stance of the movement is just answering with the same amount of vitriol to misogynistic attack, and that's why they have this very like troll-like approach to everything, even in their logo. So what happened when like gamers, Korean gamers saw that? It created such a huge harassment campaign against the dev, that it went, as you can see, it went up to into the Korean news. So it had an impact, like for this country, that for a lot of people, we haven't heard about that. Like, I didn't hear about this when it happened. I heard about it like months after. And it kind of shook the gamer community there. What happened is there was some sort of like witch hunt. Who did this? Who in the studio is in charge of this? Harassment towards the whole studio, towards even Kakao Games, Nexon themselves, to the point where the devs, game director, had to do a live stream to publicly apologize and explain live that they are taking measures, they're looking into it, it's a real investigation, and they're taking it seriously. So that's quite interesting, because I would have never thought about this as a Western game dev. So those are very regional things that are part of a context, national context. Yeah, as you can see, Korea is one of the worst countries in terms of ideology gap. That means that right now in Korea, we feel it in France too, but in Korea it's extremely hardcore, the division between how young women are going more and more and more progressive, and young men are going more and more and more conservative. It creates, of course, extreme tension within the country, and a great disdain for, anything that gets a bit too much into the feminism part, because it's so linked to Megalia that people just react instantly. There's also a thing in Korea, if you don't know much about it, there's an importance put into hierarchy, into politeness, respect towards your elder, towards the people in charge, that we kind of have in France, but not to this point. We don't have a special honorific for someone who's only a few years older than you. We don't have, we didn't grow up in a Confucian society. So those things trickle down even now to the views of the gamers. And as you can see, a big controversy with this Korean voice actress who wore a t-shirt where there was written, "Girls did not need a prince," which, to be honest, reminded me of the type of t-shirt I would see on Tumblr like a long time ago and be like, yeah. But it created a real movement there of being like, why would you say that? That's because, like, as you can see the comment there being, that's because of women like you will never have kids. This is because of you that, like, the country is stagnant in birth rate. So there's a whole cultural context to everything that you have to take into account when you're working on games, especially if you plan, like most of us, to release them globally. And it can be quite hard. The easiest thing to do in those cases is to have someone, either as a consultant or someone in your studio, who's aware of cultural differences, and you need someone from there, and you need someone, I prefer someone born there, someone who's just been in this society, understand everything about it. Because I'm talking about it, I don't understand half of the thing going on. But a Korean person is looking at this and be like, I understand everything. I understand why it blew up. I can tell you what it's linked to. I don't have all those references and cultural background. So what happened in Korea afterwards? Kind of witch hunt. Consumers as a whole just started looking for this gesture. So they looked into the same game, as you can see, but also into other games. My favorite one is that Sky one, where a bunch of them were like, the sky, at some point, it looks like there's an end doing this. And I'm looking at the sky and I'm like, oh, it just looks like a blur to me, mate. But fair, okay, wow, I don't know. But yeah, that's what happened, to the point that it reached other sides of society, not just video games. As you can see, Starbucks as well had to deal with this. I almost fell just now, just so you know. And unfortunately, there were a lot of protests online, but also in public spaces about this case. So what's interesting here is that to regain trust of the consumers, basically the devs had to take a public stance, but also prove that they were taking it seriously by firing people, by stopping partnership, by taking a stance publicly against this sign, which is very interesting because, as I said, we could have gone with "that's half a heart, mate," but just doesn't work like that, right? So, China. What's interesting about China is that they have AAA studios, unlike in the West, where they are targeting women as gamers. So they don't really care about men, the player base, even though, you know, in the West, if you don't target men, a lot of people are going to be like, it's going to be hard to sign with a publisher. It's going to be hard to sign that game. And there is this studio called Infold Paper Game. All of their games are for women. One of their latest games, called Love in Deep Space, is very well known now, I think. It was released last year. And it created a bit of a wave because it's generating so much money. And that is surprising to a lot of devs because they're like, what? Women spend money on games? What? No one told me that. What is their big differentiator, paper game? So for Love in Deep Space, the main difference is that they were the first one ever to do an auto-made game, so dating sims targeting women in 3D. No one else has ever put enough money in the genre to do this type of project. And well, women apparently love 3D anime men. If you gave them 3D anime men, yeah, they're gonna spend that money. They're gonna get all of those skins, all of those outfits, all of those memories. And as you can see, a lot of players now. 50 million users, and the money they generate put them above games like Genshin Impact, Onka Star. So they're pretty now, you know, they're big boys, which you wouldn't have expected. I think a lot of devs would have been like, what? Ultimate game? Well, good luck paying your rent. Well, they did it. So just for context, this game is from China, obviously, and it's very much dependent to an Asian culture around being a fan. As you can see right now, this is China. I think this is the Philippines. I'm not sure. But those videos are things that the devs didn't pay for. It's fans just going, hey, you know what? It's the birthday of my favorite anime man, so yes, I will go and pay for them to just feature a drone in the sky above my town, showing him off. I'm gonna spend a few thousand, but hey, that's so cool. So there's a big difference in terms of like fan events they are ready to put the money in. As you can see, there's also partnership not done by the dev with airlines, featuring for the birthday the face of their favorite character. Oh, it's the birthday of Xavier, which is this character you can see in the Shinjuku, Japan. Well, I'm gonna go to the airline with a lot of money and be like, hey, for one day, I want Xavier on all the flight tickets. So that's a culture, right? It's also getting bigger and bigger. As you can see, in China, KFC did a whole partnership with them. So at the time, because I played the game, I do like 3D anime men, I played the game and all my feed was suddenly like Chinese girl being like, I'm going on a date, I'm going on a date to KFC. I was like, what the fuck? And then, wow, look, it's my favorite dude just behind me, and I'm getting, every time I buy a bucket, I'm getting a photo card. Oh, but that means that if I want all the dudes, surely I need to buy a lot of buckets. Well, it didn't stop them. A lot of them just bought a shit ton of buckets and created a little market at the time where people were like just, hello, can you buy a lot of bucket and send it the photocard, to Europe? Thank you, I will pay everything. So it also created like a movement of like Western fans getting in touch with Chinese fans, and they're starting to influence each other in the sense that now we see, especially in the US, a lot of those birthday, anniversary meetup where they just like are starting to pay a lot of money as fans to feature their favorite boy in public spaces. So why am I talking about that, right? Well, not everyone is vibing with 3D anime men. I don't know if you've heard, but women thirsting, fake news. So in China, we had this rap artist called Pact who did a diss track on Love and Deep Space. Because he kept saying it in the public space, because of course it's a very important game there, and just saying that, you know, it's as he says, you game developer are openly poisoning the next generation. So there it's starting to be like almost like a cultural event where, like, you know, a rap artist are starting to do diss tracks on games. What is going on? I do not want to release a game, and suddenly, you know, the rap artist in my country just goes, it's time for you to die. Nekfeu, here I am. Okay. So what happened is that in this case, Info just is taking him to court. Easy answer. He's not even a consumer. It doesn't matter. The people who listen to him are not their consumers, just doesn't matter. And as a reaction from the communities, that they were like, can't men just leave us alone? I want to spend 1,000K a month on my favorite anime boy, okay? So that was China earlier this year, and now Love and Deep Space is starting to be well known in the West as well. So you have lots of videos from far right, or what I would consider as a French person, far right YouTuber. You can see like Asmongold talked about the subject. Women have some explaining to do, okay? As well as different, you know, content creator just jumping on the topic because it was trending. And why was it trending? Because they added a period tracker in game. And I wasn't aware, but apparently period tracker, they're a gooner feature. So that is all to say that things have to be taken with a pinch of salt. Those guys are not truly a problem for the devs. Because yes, it's going to start a harassing campaign, mostly towards fans, more than towards devs. People are going to clash online, but it's not going to have an impact on paper games themselves, mostly because those guys are not talking to their community. None of their community are their fans, and mostly they're not even talking to potential customer. So it doesn't matter that Asmongold make 45 videos on Love and Deep Space. The consumer base is not even there. So paper games just doesn't, unlike the Korean Nexon, just doesn't react. It doesn't matter to them. Financially, will not have any type of impact. And as you can see, actually, they've made more money than ever. So it's quite interesting. I think this case is interesting because it's the period tracker that made things go a bit crazy in the West. It's not the sexy content in game, because there is sexy content. Since the launch, there has been ASMR, where you're just like popping in your headset and suddenly you hear the guy and he's talking to you, and sometimes he moans, and no one ever made like some content criticizing that. And as you can see, there was some sexy, like BDSM-like update with like most of the boys being like wearing a sexy outfit. No one truly cared. None of those content creators just went, I cannot with his bare chest. So it's quite interesting. I deeply recommend to look into Love and Deep Space just because it's unlike any other game I've seen targeting first women, but also in the features. What they're doing is quite interesting in the sense that it's a game, but it's also a period tracker. It's also pretty much an ASMR audio playlist. It's also something that you can pop in, like I have it, and when I'm working, I can just put in the game that I'm working, and suddenly one of the guys is working with me, and it has an impact on the resources and the farming I can do in game. So it's more of a tool. It's like a tool for your daily life, but it's also a game. And also, if you don't like fighting, there's an autoplay. And also, most of the people use the autoplay. So quite interesting as game devs. Of course, parasocialism, all of those things. A lot of people are going to be like, hey, that's a bit fucked up. Isn't it just you getting like falling in love with a character and spending money on it? And I'd be like, yeah, like a lot of other games before. And it wasn't a problem. So Europe. This one is a bit closer to us because it's Dustborn, so European devs, European publisher, and you probably heard about this one, I'm assuming, because it's in our microcosm. So Dustborn, if you didn't know, they had a very heavy harassment campaign against the game, against the dev, against individual working on the game in the studio. And it got to the point where, you know, it kind of fucked everything up in terms of launch, because that happened pre-launched. So you were not on a game that was already there for a long time, like Love and Deep Space, and it doesn't matter, your community is already there, everything is already built, no one can do anything. Here we're pre-launch, during the launch as well. So what happened is that a lot of people just didn't play the game, didn't hear about the game, and when they heard about the game, it was only in like very negative, vitriol-like term. What was the answer? The answer from the dev was actually, you know, that black PNG with white text over it that we've seen a lot during the different years we've been through. And then we have just the publisher quote retweeting it, being like, yeah, I support this stance of please do not harass people. What's interesting about Dustborn is that when I looked at it, in terms of marketing, in terms of who it was reaching, is that I noticed that a lot of people talking about it were not people who were supposed to play it. In the sense that there are a lot of like features in the game, you know, it's obviously, you can tell by looking at it, it's a queer game. It's a game with queer people, with people of color, you're fighting fascists, so there's, you know, there's a clear approach to this game, even from the product point of view. But when I looked at people who were talking about it, who were covering it, they weren't the type of people I would have gone for. I think that's very important when you're in the pre-launch marketing. You do not have to go to someone just because they have, you know, a few million views and you're like, oh, that's pretty good, that's pretty good. That's not how it works. Because if it's for like a lot of views from people who just despise this type of product, you can end up in the same situation. So when you're doing your influencer campaign, when you're reaching out to press, I think it's something that you need to be aware of. Not all publicity is good publicity. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't care, it's gonna blow up and people are going to talk about me. Yeah, but what if they talk about you in such a shit way that no one wants to buy your product? It's going to be very hard afterwards to change their views. So why am I talking about missed audience? Just because when I saw Dustborn, and I saw those different features, so you can fight, you make music, it's like heavily narrative project, I was like, James, that's the little sister of Thirsty Suitors, who had a great, you know, resonance in the industry. They got a few awards. Now the devs are working with Inner Sloth. They got selected as one of the projects that got their funding, you know, their new funding out of slot right away. So they're doing well for themselves. We also have other projects like Goodbye Volcano High, and all of those projects have the same imagery of I'm extremely queer. It's like there's people of color. It's very leftist, and they still found their player base. So here, I think there was maybe some sort of, I would say I would have gone for a scope of content creators that are into those type of games. So when you're working on your reaching out, like for influencers, you have to check. You cannot go, oh, well, you know, I made that other game called Detroit Becoming Human, and it's a big game, it's a AAA, and everyone played it, so surely they're going to play that game as well. It's not the same approach. Detroit Becoming Human, as much as I like it, in your run, if you want to be, well, it's very essentialist, right? It's like, are you Malcolm X or are you Martin Luther King? But very, very French and downscale. Well, if you want to just have a playthrough where you don't give a shit and you're not violent or anything, you don't go for the Malcolm X approach, well, it's okay. Yes, it's a AAA. Everyone's going to play it. It doesn't have the same resonance as a game that is overtly like, hey, we're gonna fight fascists today. Let's go. So it's something to take into account when you're working on your project. Why? Because I think that this game, unfortunately, if it had people covering it that were already into this type of games, I don't think it would have gone so badly. As you can see, we have the Metacritic here. Press a bit higher, okay, press a lot higher than the average user. Why? Because the average user came from all those little pockets of guys being very upset, being very, very upset that the main character is a black woman and she's fighting the far right. Doesn't feel good to them. As you can see, the peak is quite low for a game of the scale, and not a lot of reviews, and most of those reviews are extremely negative on Steam. So why am I saying this? Mostly because when you work on those type of games, and it gets picked up by a content creator that is Asmongold-like, you have to be aware, and you have to have guideline in place of what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to have a wave of users that do not give a shit about your game, really. They just want to be really upset at it. And if they can find someone in your studio, usually a woman, usually a person of color, and go, that's all their fault, they will. So you have to have guideline in place for those type of situation. And you have to be aware that you cannot counter them with just a Twitter post. That will not have an impact. That will have an impact maybe on the people who already support you. That will not have an impact of those guys. There's also this thing about community development, is that a lot of people are like, if you have community development, it's great, everything's going to be good, okay? It doesn't work like this anymore. Now you can get picked up by a little niche of guys being extremely vocal, and then everything goes to shit. So something to be aware of. Yes, I know, jump scare. Oh la la, why is he always here? But what can I say? It's always him. It's not my fault, I swear. So Musk. What I like to call this is dev witch hunt. Everything's woke now. Everything is woke. Everything is shit. And present-day politic bullshit in your games just make it absolutely worst. I am not going to dwell too much on this because I think you already all know. I really like his take on GTA, not gonna lie. Have you ever played a GTA? I cannot. At some point, you have to shoot a cop. Well, that's a lot of game though. Yeah, but political bullshit. Very interesting from a guy who's really into politics. Let's say it that way. But what's interesting about Musk on the US part is that he has evolved a bit like a Pokemon. So it started with wokeness being in games, then specific games, then specific studio, and now specific individual person in those studios. And it doesn't matter that the person is well known or not. We've seen Elon Musk attacking. I am conscious of people's feeling, and I will not put example. Very easy to look for who Elon Musk has decided to attack as a person, revealing their name, where they live, their past. And it's something to take into account that now, in our days, it's not just studios that are attacked. It can be anyone in your team. Unfortunately, when you look at what happened to a lot of those people, well, they took a step that, good for them. A lot of them left the industry because what happened is that they just received all of this hate, all of this harassment, all of this doxing, people finding out about their family, and there was no institutional guideline in place. No one knew what to do. You go to your studio, you're like, I'm harassed. They're like, shit, we're with you. We don't know what to do either. Okay. Maybe I should go to Twitter themselves. Twitter? I mean, it's X now and it's Elon Musk, so I can't really do that anymore. What could I do? I'm gonna go to, get in touch with Google. I'm gonna get rid of all of my trace on the internet. Shit, someone uploaded a video of a talk I made 5 years ago and there's my name on that. So I can't get rid of this. So it's something to take into account when you're working on games. And what's very important here is that you're more of a target if you're a minority, of course. But it doesn't really matter what type of game you're making. Like, when Elon Musk is saying that Hasbro and Wizard of the Coast is all going to shit, saying that because all of the Dungeons and Dragons now you can be gay. They get rid of the word race, now it's species. My heart. It can happen to any type of franchise. If you apply it to, you can apply it to any type of franchise. I don't know what we. GTA. GTA is a good example. GTA is woke. Baldur's Gate 3 is woke. Pretty much everything is woke. Pac-Man. Maybe, I'm not sure. We should check the list. I haven't checked Pac-Man actually. So for the global, the case is Sweet Baby Inc. that you already know that happened last year. Now it's referred as GamerGate 2. And what's interesting with Sweet Baby Inc. is that it followed the same logic. Those games are so woke. I wonder who they work with. Those guys, they work on a lot of games I think are too woke and are AAA. Okay? Who's working in this place? Let's check their LinkedIn and let's check the list of employees. Very easy, on it went. Doesn't take a lot of time for those people to find you. And I thought that this interview with Robert from Baby Inc. was incredibly interesting. Because he put an emphasis on the fact that a lot of people misunderstand what they're doing. A lot of people think that they just knock on the door and be like, have you thought of putting Pridefly in your game? Thank you very much. And that's not what they're doing. They're a narrative consultancy agency. They work on narration. They're actually doing a lot of things. But those mass harassment campaigns just went, it's because of them that there is Miles Morales in my new Spider-Man. That's why Peter Parker is retiring. Grand remplacement. So I think this is quite interesting. Also that he put the emphasis that at this time it was them, but it can be anyone else. And I agree with that statement. It can really be anyone else. And that this movement of witch hunting, they don't really care who they're hunting. They just need someone to hunt. That's the main logical approach to this movement, because that's how they feel together. They're like, whoa, go on Twitter, oh, what did Musk say? Oh, what did Grams say? Ooh. Okay, I'm well upset now. I'm gonna go shit on them with 1,000 other people, apparently. Let's go. So it's something to take into account. But things are a little bit changing. A little bit. If you were not aware, there was a little bit of a beef between Assassin's Creed Shadow and Musk and Grams online, when Grams, that I do not consider a game dev. It's been a long time, huh? But to be a game dev, you have to be in the industry, my dude. You have to be a little bit active. You cannot just open Twitter and be like, I'm a dev. He just got very upset because Assassin's Creed Shadows did a partnership with Hassan Piker, who's, I think, our American point of view, communist guy, French point of view, leftist guy. You know, that's the end. That's the end. Assassin's Creed, or dare you? Ubisoft, or dare you? Do that, or not with this guy. And I'm not sure you can read from there, so I will read it for you. So Graham says, you can tell a lot about you. I don't know why I give him a very French accent, because actually he's extremely American, but I cannot do an American accent. You can tell a lot about Ubisoft with how much money they're throwing at terrorist platforming streamer. And then Elon Musk just say, Hassan is a fraud. And really a conversation that should have been in DMs, let's be honest. And then Grimes just answers, anti-capitalist my butt. Hassan promos are not cheap. So then Elon Musk just go, sell out would be more accurate. Objectively, he's promoting a terrible game just for money. And then Assassin's Creed, which I really enjoy. Community management on Assassin's Creed top tier. Just goes, wait, isn't that what the guy playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you? Well, I kind of liked it. So that was quite interesting, because that's the first time a big studio, AAA level game, fight back those guys publicly. And what happened is that, you know, typically in corporate communication, they very much take the stance of, no, just let it pass, never interact with those people. Assassin's Creed did that, and as you can tell, there's a clear ratio in terms of like and retweet and quote tweet. We can see where the people are having fun, and it's with Assassin's Creed. I actually saw a lot of comments being like, whoa, being ratioed by Ubisoft, really? Oh, and just like leaving the Grams side, because we're like, oh man, as a hardcore gamer, you've been rationed by Ubisoft. I cannot have respect for you anymore. Thank you, Ubisoft. You've done well on this one. And of course, Grams going, you know, sharing this little screenshot that was quite interesting of Ubisoft being in desperate needs of a hit right now. Assassin's Creed just answering, well, our game is out, man. So, pretty good ratio. I had a lot of fun saying that. What I mean by adding those things is that our stance so far as an industry has been to just go, there's harassment. Press will write an article about the harassment. Press will write interviews with the harassment. The studio is going to have this little post of, we stand against doxing and harassment. We don't go further than that. There's a lot of cases where it went to court, but not enough to scare those guys. This is the first time where there's a public, very public stance of fuck off that we've seen so far. And as you can tell, there wasn't a lot of repercussion on the Ubisoft side. They actually had a lot of people being like, whoa, so real? Okay, I'm gonna buy it. I don't. Sometimes I see those type of things. I'm like, how does it work in those people's mind? I don't understand. But yeah. I think what is interesting here is that if you beat them at their own game, well, it can turn out okay for you. But there's also the thing that Ubisoft is a big company, of course. I'm sure they were thinking a lot before posting those things. It's not the same when it's a small dev studio, right? You don't have the same resonance as Ubisoft. Probably you will not have that little check mark, and it's going to be harder for people to see you answering to Elon Musk. So it's definitely a hard situation for dev, but what's interesting is that those guys right now, so we're in April 2025, maybe there's news for people online, you know, but right now they're losing the hardcore gamers that they've been trying to attract for several years. So Elon Musk having this stance on games, it's no surprise. Who are gamers, especially in the US? It's young men. Young men are growing more conservative. What's cool about young men is that they grew up in a world with Andrew Tate and Joe Rogan. And if you can get them just before they can vote, whew, that's good. That's a good job for you as Elon Musk, let's be honest. So of course, you want to appeal to gamers. You want to appeal to those men that are really online, who, you know, have a lot of time to spend online as well. And you want to be their bro. You want to be their fellow gamers. So what's interesting with Elon Musk is that he had this famous quote that people were like, wow, Elon Musk, Path of Exile, top players in the world. How? If I had a private jet where I could go anywhere, I have so much money, I wouldn't be doing that. Well, neither is he, actually. As you probably already know, it was debunked. He cannot play to save his life. And just a few days ago, he had his live stream in his private jet where he was playing Path of Exile, and you can already see him having a hard time. He's not disabling the chat in game. He doesn't seem to know how to access those options even. And he cannot beat the tutorial boss. It's cool when you have a lot of money because you can just go to like a very, very good guy, like a guy who's like very good at game and be like, what if I pay you? And then I say that this is my account. Pretty good, right? There's also a movement coming from, actually Asen Piker did an interview with his daughter, and his daughter revealed that he would force his kid to play ranked with him and to carry him during games so that he could say that, yeah, I'm pretty good at Overwatch, man. So those guys are losing credibility because if there's a thing that gamers fucking hate, especially hardcore gamer, is when you don't take games seriously. You cannot say you're such a good gamer and you're not a gamer. They're very proud of their gamer identity, right? And they're starting to lose a lot of those guys that they've been trying to attract throughout the different years. And there's also the fact that now Elon Musk is not an underdog. Well, he really was never, if you think about it, but he's not a counterculture guy anymore. He's part of the government. And, well, if things are going to shit and you're part of the government, doesn't seem as sexy anymore. So they're losing a bit of support. And as you can see, we have a lot of content creator, including Asmon Gold, calling out Elon Musk, being like, you're fake one. You're a fake one, when for years he had been making content endorsing Elon Musk. And I really like this tweet from from Opera GX, who during all of that Ubisoft Assassin's Creed Shadow episode, they just went, okay, we're developing features that will remove any trace of grubs from the web, and please, I need it. So, you know, as you can see, as looking at the stats of the likes and the bookmark, people are vibing with this. So The point here is that those guys are extremely vocal. It feels sometimes that there's just them on the internet, that the gamer is those guys, and it's not. When you look at your stat of several games, if you've read this game before, most of the time they don't represent most of the gamers. Because most of the gamers play a game, they're like, well, neat, cool, I'm gonna just do something else with my life. They just move on. And if they really like your game, they go, okay, list of favorite thing in my life, this game. I will put that on my Inch profile. That's all. So it's always something to keep in mind when you're dealing with those. But the most important thing to me right now, more than community building, because community building can only get you so far, especially if you're a small entity. If your game gets picked up by Asmongold, it's going to be very hard. Honestly, it's going to be very hard to fight it off. Especially if you're during pre-launch, if you're not like already post-launch with people who already like you, already support you. But the most important thing for me, more than the product itself, is the people you work with at this point in time. Because I am honestly extremely tired of seeing friends, of seeing people I know, just leaving because of shit like this. Because they're burned out, not just by the work and the crunch, because before we used to focus a lot on that, right? And we still do, it's fair. But now there's this next step of harassment, of being harassed as an individual, as a real life person. So what do you do to protect your team at your level? Please have meetings not just with the community team, be it a CM or a community developer. They're great profile, they're great workers, they're great at editor, writing things. They're not trained for this most of the time. A good thing to keep in mind is that community manager in the industry, it's usually people first-time job, it's usually an entry job. A lot of them choose this job just to get into the industry, and their final aim is to go into prod, or to deviate and have like a host-like, influencer-like stance in the industry. They dream of being Jeff Kelly, things like that. So it's something to take into account with this profile, right? What I would always suggest is you have an emergency meeting with your CM, of course, but you need all your project leads. You need everyone. You need everyone to be aware. Everyone to be fully aware that something is happening and more things might happen soon. It shouldn't be a surprise. You need your IT, because, you never know what's going to happen. Wow, if someone managed to hack or anything or get into your server, you need those guys to be there, and you need legal. I cannot emphasize how much you need a lawyer around the table. If you have legal, because you're a corporate company, cool. If you don't, it's the moment where, unfortunately, you have to get your lawyer to come and be aware of what's happening. So this is the moment where people don't agree with me, but I think you should offer time off to your CM, to everyone who's customer-facing in this situation. They need time off. You cannot expect them to just sit 3 days straight, sleeping only 3 hours a night, looking at absolute vitriol. Why? Just because first it has an impact on mental health. There's already a lot of studies. There's just one there to emphasize my point. But you need someone else to take the wheel. You cannot expect one person to deal with all of this bullshit. Why? Because first, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of emotional work. A lot of people are going to lose sleep over it, let's be honest. And it's easier to deal with this shit when there's an emotional distance. If it's you that is attacked personally, you have to deal with this. Ugh, don't do it. Emotional distance always. There's a lot of tools if you're attacked personally as a dev, like let's say your private personal Twitter, that enables you to just give all the notification to another person. You don't see them at all. You can just go to that friend, or that colleague that just doesn't give a shit. And be like, hey, can you look for those notifications quickly? And just block anyone who's saying bullshit. So I never have to see anyone doing stupid shit about me. So there's a lot of tools. You have Redact Dev, That is pretty much a tool that enables you to look throughout your history on Discord, on Facebook, on X, and look up all the posts you've ever posted, all the pictures you've ever shared. If you have pictures of you in a bikini at 13 with a vodka absolute, like I did on Facebook, is the moment where you delete it. So it's also interesting as a, on a personal level. And of course, there's Mega Block, blue blocker that I love, that can just help you block anyone who has a little blue tick on X. I love this, it's so good. And Bodyguard AI. There's also a lot of resources. You have the Crash Over Drive. Be aware that it's very US-based, the Crash Over Drive, so a lot of things are not necessarily applicable, but it can help you out quite a lot. It did help me out in the past. You have the DMCA takedown, the Internet Watch Foundation that is actually based in the UK, and Stop NCII, which is very interesting for, let's say when someone is is a community member or someone who just entered your Discord, suddenly share a porn, AI, generated video of your dev or of other people on the server, that can help scrape it from the internet. Of course, please allow people to have mental health support, real support from professional. You cannot just go to someone and be like, we have a coffee and I'm with you. That's not enough. That's cool, that's great to know that the people in your studio support you, but that's definitely not enough. And my absolute advice is that you should have someone in your studio who knows what to do in those situations. You need to have someone who has guidelines, who has like, oh, case A, we get a content creator who does absolute bullshit crap on our games, and suddenly we have a wave of harassment. You need to have those cases already in mind, just in case they happen. And my last, but not least, protecting the teams, but as an industry. There's a limitation to what we can do as individual, even what we can do as just a small indie studio. My point is that at this point in time, we need to change as an industry. We need to have more of an institutional stance about it. We need to have more big player in the industry, be able to say, okay, in this situation, you did this, you did that, we stand together. We don't just let one studio go through it and leave them to die. I would recommend you to read the interview with Robert on Sweet Baby Inc. And how the devs, went on after it happens. But also think about this question of how a social media platform are just allowing all of this shit. I thought it was in their TOS that harassment is not available. So Square Enix, big up Square Enix, because they have started to allow their employees to deny services and products to any gamers who's rude to them. Ah, that feels good though. So if you want to keep playing Final Fantasy XIV, be a nice person, thank you. And that's all for me today. Thank you so much.